Hi all, thank you for joining us in our 2024 complimentary webinar series covering the FAR, or Federal Acquisition Regulations. We're coming to you live today from Washington, D.C. Thank you for being here. Okay, so a little bit about the series. As usual, all of our webinars are complimentary and recorded. The FAR has 52 total parts and we'll run through them sequentially each week on Wednesday and Fridays at noon Eastern Time. The recordings and PowerPoints will be posted within 24 hours of the webinar ending. You can find the recordings on our YouTube channel simply by subscribing to it using the link you see on the screen. There is no cost. You can find the PowerPoint on the SlideShare using your LinkedIn credentials to log in. Again, there is no cost. We also offer sponsorship opportunities. If you're interested, please send us an email to hello@jenniferschaus.com. And now, how to sign up for the series. Unfortunately, there's no bulk registration. You must register individually for each webinar. If you go to the Jennifer Schaus website, navigate to the section called the FAR, you'll find the individual registration links. Also, the recording links will be posted here upon completion of each webinar. Please note, we covered the FAR in 2020, so if you're eager to get a jump start, please find these historical recordings on our site. Navigate to the Webinars tab and scroll down to the section, the FAR 2020. Because it has been 4 years, many of the regulations have changed and been updated. Please use this as a reference tool only. And now, a little bit about us. We work with established federal contractors worldwide, helping them navigate the market. Our services range from market analysis reports to contract vehicles and compliance. Some of the contract vehicles we support are listed here on your screen. For more information, please visit our website. Those were our services for federal contractors. We also provide marketing and advertising services for organizations who are selling to federal contractors. We can add extra muscle to your marketing efforts via our newsletter ads and webinar sponsorships to in-person events. Please email us and ask for our media kit. Please join us and our friends at the Michigan Apex Accelerator next month on Thursday, March 28th, as we delve into the GSA schedule basics. The webinar is also complimentary and can be found on our website under the Events section. Is your business pursuing the Homeland Security contract vehicle and need a compliance matrix or full proposal support? We offer assistance with the DHS PAC contract. Please email us for a quote at hello@jenniferschaus.com. We can also support your business with proposal help on the upcoming NASA SOUP contract. Again, we offer anything from a compliance matrix to full handholding and proposal support. hello@jenniferschaus.com is the email to use to contact us for help. Please join us on March 12th for a webinar from the team at the Federal Forecasting app. They will discuss and demo how the app allows users to engage and build relationships, including teaming partners and more. Again, this is complimentary and recorded. Please also join us on March 14th at noon for a complimentary webinar with our friends at Agile ATS. If you're looking for recruiting and hiring best practices, strategies, and tactics, be sure to tune into this lively discussion. Agile ATS provides government contractors with a software platform for hiring and more. Again, this is recorded and complimentary. MyGovWatch has recently conducted some research with government buyers. They will share the results of these findings with us on March 26th in a complimentary webinar. MyGovWatch will debunk the myths about RFIs, RFQs, and RFPs so that you can find out what's really going on behind the scenes. Again, this webinar is complimentary and recorded. A little later in June, we'll hear from Carrie Palmatier on small business innovation in federal contracting. Specifically, Carrie will cover information on SBIRs and STTRs. These two options are a great way for tech companies to grow in the federal sector. This is a two-part series. As always, these are recorded and complimentary. Our webinars are complimentary thanks to our longtime and generous corporate sponsors and in-kind sponsors. Please allow me to introduce them. We would like to thank our friends at GovEvents, the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and our events on govevents.com, as well as recordings from our past 600+ webinars. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at Set Aside Alerts, the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, and 8A firms. Visit setasidealert.com for more information. The Fairfax Economic Development Authority has an online calendar of events and webinars. We want to thank them for posting our events and webinars on their calendar. The Virginia Apex Accelerator at George Mason University offers free one-on-one counseling to establish government contracting firms in Virginia on federal, state, and local procurement topics. If you're interested in learning more, please use the links provided to explore their services, review homework recommendations, register for live training, and find useful links to agencies and other self-directed learning. One-on-one counseling is limited to eligible client companies. Appointment requests are handled in the order they were received and based on counselor availability due to high demand. Online resources and group trainings are free with no restriction on business location. Join the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce's monthly GovCon Council meeting to network with contracting peers, learn about upcoming events, opportunities, and also contribute to future programming. The meetings take place the fourth Tuesday of each month at 8:30 a.m. at the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, April 23rd at 8:30 a.m. Please contact Alicia Fields if you have questions about the meeting. Alicia's email is at the bottom of your screen. Do you want help winning government contracts? BidSpeed can help. Users can find contract opportunities from federal, state, and local government. Additionally, you can search for teaming partners, incumbent point of contact, expiring contracts, compliance matrices, and also proposal templates. Create your login at bidspeed.com. BidSpeed is an official partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration's E2G, Empower to Grow. Events are the ultimate engagement channel to bring government and industry together. 68% of government personnel report that they attend more than one event each year. The Federal Business Council, or FBC, has worked with government and industry for 45+ years to create gatherings where ideas are shared and to help government achieve its goals. This includes agency industry days, cybersecurity symposiums, technology expos, and offsite meetings. FBC provides full lifecycle meeting planning and event management. With over 5,000 meetings under their belt, FBC has the experience, systems, and personnel to make your next event exceptional. Learn more at www.fbc.inc.com. Please check out our friends over at GovBrew. GovBrew is the most read GovCon newsletter, keeping thousands of GovCon professionals in the loop with news, updates, and opportunities in the federal contracting market, all in a fun and accessible email that only takes 5 minutes to read. It's 100% free to join. It goes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. It's filled with great content, event postings, webinars, and more. We encourage you to sign up at govbrew.co, or you can use the QR code you see on the screen. Okay, now let's meet today's speaker. Please welcome Jeff Shio to the webinar. We're honored to have you with us today and are excited to hear your presentation on the FAR. We appreciate the time you took to put together the content. Jeff, I'll put myself on mute and turn the floor over to you. Please let me know when you're ready for your next slide and I'll advance them as we discussed.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk through what I find to be one of the most important and interesting parts of the FAR Part 11, describing agency needs. My name is Jeff Shio. I am the co-chair of the government contracts practice here at Greenberg Traurig, and also one of the founders of our space and satellite industry practice group. Just fresh off of a space and satellite conference and out in LA, and here today to talk to you about FAR Part 11. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is the mandate that when agencies are describing their needs, which is what FAR Part 11 is all about, that they shall, to the maximum extent practicable, describe those agency needs in ways that they can be met by commercial contractors, so companies that are providing commercial products or services. And so you're going to see that theme quite a bit today. That's really going to be the focus of what I talk about, because I think it's probably not well enough understood that since 1996, that has been the mandate of federal procurement, and it's often ignored. And so this is what the FAR tells you you should be doing. So let's look at the next slide. All right, so this is just telling you kind of where we're going to go. We're going to start off with a very quick FAR Part 10 refresher, because I think it's important and it helps to kind of understand where somebody who is going to go out and describe their agency need, where they kind of need to start. And it's sort of a chicken or egg thing, as you'll see when we get to that slide. And the ones that are bolded are those that I'm going to focus the most time on. So the policy and procedures, 11.1, selecting and developing the requirements. So the two important things, there's lots of things that have to be considered in selecting and developing requirements, but the two most important are full and open and commercial items, as I mentioned. And then I am going to spend a little time talking about subpart 11.6, priorities and allocations, which really describes the Defense Priorities and Allocation System, DPAS. Next slide, please. So real quick on FAR Part 10. Acquisitions, this is quoting directly from, these first couple are quoting directly from FAR. Acquisitions begin with a description of the government's needs stated in terms sufficient to allow conduct of market research. And so that's how we get into this sort of chicken and egg thing. We have to, the agency needs to describe its needs in terms sufficient that it can then go conduct some market research. So next we see market research is then conducted to determine if commercial items or non-developmental items are available to meet the government's needs or could be modified to meet the government's needs. And then we see that market research is kind of iterative. It has to happen, it's required to happen before you solicit offers, before you award task orders under an IDIQ. That's an important one. A lot of people just think, I'll just go issue a task order. If you're going to go issue a task order as an agency, you should be conducting market research before you do that. They should also be doing it on an ongoing basis to keep informed about what's available in the market. And again, we come back to this really important mandate to determine the extent to which commercial items are suitable, and if not, whether non-developmental items are available that meet or could be modified to meet the agency's requirements, or if the agency's requirements could be reasonably modified to procure commercial or non-developmental items. So that tells you, I think, sort of 4 different ways that the agency shall, if possible, so to the maximum extent practicable, try to procure commercial products and services. And the last bullet is just an obvious one. Agency shall conduct market research appropriate to the circumstances. It's got to match what they're doing before developing new requirements documents for an acquisition by that agency. Next slide, please. So that was all about the market research that goes hand in hand with this, but we're going to sort of start at the top of FAR Part 11 and work our way down, again, emphasizing mostly 11.0, 11.1, and 11.6. So as you see here, agencies shall specify their needs using market research in a manner designed to, here we go again, promote full and open competition. FAR Part 6 is where you see the details of that, or maximum practicable competition if they're going to use simplified acquisition procedures like those that appear in FAR Part 13, with due regard to the nature of the supplies or services to be acquired. So promote full and open competition, got it, that's the Competition and Contracting Act. And next, only include restrictive provisions or conditions to the extent necessary to satisfy the needs of the agency or as authorized by law. Again, we want to ensure that the agency only asks for what it truly needs, because every restriction they put on it makes the pool of potential offerers less. And so say what you need and let the market provide solutions. And then we get back to the focus on commercial items. So to the maximum extent practicable, ensure that acquisition officials, those who are describing their needs, state the requirements with respect to an acquisition of supplies or services in terms of functions that are to be performed, performance required, or the essential physical characteristics. Don't get restrictive, just tell me what the basics are, and do so in order to enable and encourage offerers to supply commercial products or commercial services, or if commercial items are not available, developmental items. So we want to describe or define it. So the contracting officer should be describing those requirements in terms that enable and encourage these offers, these commercial offers, that also give commercial or non-developmental products or services an opportunity to compete, if they're making a prime contract, if they're issuing a prime contract or subcontracts at any tiers, they, whoever is stating those requirements should be doing so to incorporate commercial products or services into as components. So even if you can't make an overall commercial item procurement, you should make the subcontractors and components of it commercial items wherever you can. And then finally, again, it says, okay, you've stated your requirements, you've described them, but could you modify them to ensure that commercial products or services or non-developmental items could meet it? Next slide, please. So that's the policy. Policy continues. Each of these are kind of important things, and I think I would treat this as a checklist if I was a contracting officer. So I got to use the metric system unless that's impracticable. We shouldn't create OCIs, but we should give potential offers an opportunity to comment on agency requirements or recommend tailoring of acquisition documents so that there's a give and take with industry. Again, they should pursue sustainable acquisition, and the details of that are in FAR Part 23. There's some proposed rules to make that make that mandate even more demanding. Performance levels or specifications can be targets. That's this idea that says not everything has to be a hard and fast requirement. If you want to say, hey, I'm targeting this, but I will accept offers that fall short of those targets, that helps to, okay, somebody can't give me something that meets what my goal is, but they give me something really close and they do it at a great price. Maybe I can select that, and that's a best value decision in the end. The CO has to ensure that they're obeying the requirements of Section 508. That a lot of times that comes into play in IT procurements. And unless waived by the agency CIO for IT acquisitions that use Internet Protocol, you have to use that NIST publication that's mentioned there. And then finally, very important in these post-pandemic days, absent a determination by the contracting officer, there should be no requirement prohibiting employee telecommuting. So that's again policy trying to promote telecommunication unless the CO decides otherwise. Next. This just kind of walks through, and I've really tried to here just kind of slim down all the words. If you were to pop open FAR Part 11, it'll take you a little while to get through. It's not too bad. You're talking 8 or 10 pages, but really this is the stuff that matters. The order of precedence and requirements is those that are required by law. Requirements that are performance oriented, so you want to use PWSs or statements of objectives. If you can't do something that's sort of objectively oriented, then I guess you can use detailed design documents where necessary. But then also you should use government published standards and specifications only sort of as a last resort. So again, they want you to do performance oriented, detailed design if you must. Government published standards really should be avoided if they can be. And agencies must use voluntary consensus standards, things like ISO standards or IEEE standards, when they exist rather than government standards, unless it's illegal or impractical to do so. Now, it could be illegal for example, sourcing requirements, something violates treaty prohibitions or trade prohibitions or something like that. Agencies are supposed to select existing requirements documents, not create new ones. But if they do create new ones, there are specific publications, the FSPM 0001, or for DoD, the 4120.24-M, and NIST's Federal Information Publications for IT. So again, agencies should use already existing requirements if they can, but if they have to do new ones, those are the guidance that they have to follow. And then this is an interesting one, where the agency's minimum need is for an item with demonstrated reliability, performance, or product support. So something that is is just proven to work kind of out in the world, it may require demonstration of commercial market acceptance, and this is just accepted as a commercial market, or that somebody has satisfactorily supplied it under a government contract. If they want to use this it's sort of a shortcut to select a type, your requirements. It has to be supported by market research, and it has to consider similar items that have been successfully delivered under recent or current government contracts. So they don't want you to say, oh, it's accepted in the commercial market, that's the only thing I care about. No, at least somebody in the government has had to use it. That's got to be part of the research that goes on. Next slide, please. This is another kind of one to spend some time on, is the use of brand name or equal purchases, or the items particular one manufacturer. These are to be avoided. Again, the idea is the government should be casting the widest net they possibly can, and if somebody dictates, hey, you have to use this brand name or this or you have to use items from this one particular manufacturer, or you have to use this brand name or equal. I'm going to define my requirement by saying, you have to sell me Pepsi or an equal product. That really narrows it down and limits competition. So those are to be avoided. And if it's going to be particular to just one manufacturer, which again should be avoided, the only way that can be done, or is supposed to be done, is if the product or feature is essential and market research indicates that similar products do not meet and cannot be modified to meet the agency's requirements. You have to fill out a J&A, and that FAR 6.302-1 reference shows that J&A is, again, it's an exception to full and open competition. And you have to post that basis for making that restriction. You got to document it and you got to post it. And what is that for? Well, if somebody objects to it, they can file a protest. Typically, those kinds of notices of intent have to be protested very quickly, like within 10 days of posting. Purchase descriptions for service contracts. Obviously, if the government is going out to buy services, it should not be buying services that are inherently governmental. So that's just a note for that. That was a big deal back in kind of the late 2000s. The government really was trying to say, government employees should be doing government work, and we shouldn't be hiring contractors to do inherently governmental things. It's gotten less airtime recently, but it's still a consideration. And if you're going to use brand name or equal, you have to use that FAR clause there. Or if you're going to use alternatives to government unique standards, use that FAR clause. All right, next. So the rest of these, again, I'm going to go through pretty quickly. When you're identifying the specifications, you're supposed to use, again, these tools that are specific for federal procurement. So these are GSA tools or a DoD tool. They're supposed to streamline things. They don't want contracting officers just going out and kind of making it up. Go to these tools which exist for these purposes. When you issue a solicitation, you should be citing, if you are citing to these government standards, the ones that are found in those tools, you're not generally required to provide those documents, those standards documents, to offerers. So that's not part of what the contracting officer is required to do. If there are other things that are kind of outside those core documents that the GSA or DoD have prepared as relevant to procurements, if they're not in those kind of libraries, then you should either provide these different documents or at least make a reference. There's a way for people to recommend changes to these standardized documents. So if there's been this publication that's being used for procurements, but somebody has a better idea, you're supposed to reach out to GSA, and they can consider and make those necessary changes. And then there's some additional solicitation provisions and contract clauses that are supposed to be in your requirements documents. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm really going to gloss over the rest of these because again, there's not a whole lot that is to be said about any of these, but the liquidated damages is kind of an important thing in contracting generally. So, I'll real quickly for FAR 11.3 acceptable material. In essence, what it's saying is don't require people to use brand new material. Allow them to use reconditioned or refurbished supplies where you can. NCOs can use bio-based products if they like. The delivery or performance schedules in any contract, not just a government contract, time of delivery is generally deemed to be an essential contract element. But instead of always saying, well, I'm in a rush, I need this tomorrow, it should not be rushed if that's not necessary, because that is one way that you restrict competition, you harm small businesses, and you have to pay a higher price. So if you can wait longer to get it, and it doesn't really affect your requirements, it may make the pool of capable offerers larger. And again, small businesses who may have a smaller warehousing capability, they'll be able to perform, whereas they couldn't for some kind of rush job. And the use of liquidated damages, again, it's not preferred. So it's only supposed to be used. That clause should only appear in a government contract when delay is going to damage the government in some kind of unknown amount. It's not supposed to be punitive, but the government needs to be able to mitigate its damages, and it can waive those liquidated damages, but sometimes it is okay to include a liquidated damages clause. Next slide, please. So DPAS, it is for essentially any DoD procurement, not really any, but a significant majority of DoD procurements. You'll find that there'll be a DO or DX rating on it, and what that requires is that that whoever is supplying, that's the prime contractor or their subcontractors, if you get an order that on the face of it says that it's either DO or a DX rated order, it means that there's a sort of a national defense or emergency preparedness need for it, and so you need to give it priority over your other work. So so DO rated orders have equal priority with each other, and they take preference over unrated orders. So an unrated order is one that has no kind of DPAS rating on it. Any DO rated order has to take priority over that. And then if it's a DX rated order, that will have preference over a DO rated order or an unrated order. But for both of these, if you get two DX rated orders in the door, they each have equal priority, and they're both more important than and have to be given higher priority than a DO or unrated order. There is a really detailed discussion, not in FAR Part 11, but if you go to 15 CFR Part 700, all the details about the DPAS system are there. It's pretty self-explanatory if you actually read it, but it sets out the rules for preferential scheduling, the need to flow things down, those sorts of things. It's not just the U.S. government or DoD that can use these ratings. Canada and foreign nations can apply for these ratings as well. There are ways to, if you're not going to be able to do it, you can reach out for assistance. And again, that's all laid out in that 15 CFR Part 700. And the Department of Commerce will enforce it, and willful violation of DPAS requirements is a criminal act punishable by the Defense Production Act. So it's a big deal. You know, you get this order from somebody, they put a DX rating on it or a DO rating on it, and you think, you know what, this is not profitable. It's going to cause disruption and delay to my other work and my other customers. Ignoring that rating and failing to obey it is a criminal act. It can be enforced as such. Next slide, please. These clauses are just kind of there for reference. Nothing super important there. The idea is basically variations in quantity puts a burden on somebody, either who's receiving it or who's delivering it. And so these clauses just kind of establish presumptions about how that's going to work out if you end up delivering too much product, and then the government has to sort of deal with that overage. How do they deal with that in a supply contract? How do we do that in a construction contract? And those clauses that are relevant are listed there. Next slide, please. Okay, so we went through it pretty quickly, but I think hopefully you got the key takeaways, which are every time a contracting officer or an agency sort of requirements development person is going through that exercise, they have to think, can I write this, or can I even modify my needs in order to encourage and promote the acquisition of commercial products and services? And then also, if I get, I should avoid things which are overly restrictive. That's in lots of provisions, including the requirement that you minimize the use of brand name or equal solicitations, that you justify any need to use those. And then finally, the DPAS rating, which if you didn't know, has a criminal penalty associated with it, you now do. So I appreciate your attention today. I'm glad that I had this chance to do this. We at Greenberg Traurig really appreciate the promotion of learning that that Jennifer Schaus is doing, and we hope that we can meet more of you and serve you with our government contracts practice and our space and satellite industry practice here at Greenberg Traurig. Thanks and have a great day.
Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Jeff, for a very informative presentation. As mentioned, you can always catch the recording on our YouTube channel within 24 hours and find over 600 government contracting webinars there. That's it for today's webinar. Thank you again to Jeff, and thank you so much to everybody who joined us. Have a wonderful weekend.